Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all an update to my Sun Dragon Future card Buddyfight deck profile for post Buddy Ragnarok. With the release of the final, Future card Buddyfight set, I wanted to update one of my, favorite decks in the series, being the Sun Dragon with Ball, one of Gal Mikado's buddies that he used during the Triple D series. It's a really, really awesome deck. I'm really happy with the results that the Revival Buddies gave us for this Sun Dragon deck, focusing on the impact monsters and also Bal Soleil. So I can't wait to give you all the update to the deck profile with all the additional cards from the Buddy Wars booster set, but also the additional support, like I said, from the Buddy Ragnarok set. So let's go ahead and get started. So my choice of Buddy for the deck, being a Dragon World deck, is still Apical Sun Deity Bal Dragon, being my favorite one to go into most of the game, just being the setup for my impact monsters and also Bal Soleil with this card. So being able to use this as my buddy is the one I get the most power from. That's why I'm also running 4 of this card in the deck, with its call cost being pay 1 gauge and put the top card of your deck into its soul, and its ability being Bestis Bal Bal, being you call up to 1 size 2 or greater monster with Bal Dragon or Bal Soleil and its card name from your drop zone on top of this card without paying its call cost, and you only use this ability once per turn. But that setup and also damage dealt to your opponent by card effects with this card in the soul of a monster cannot be reduced. This card also has Soul Guard and Penetrate, but the setup with that being a counter skill means you can also use this during the attack step and have this card get an attack against your opponent and then call whatever monster you have set up in your drop zone on top of this card as well. And for some of the backup versions of Bal Dragon, I'm also running 3 Overturn Sun Dragon Bal Dragon. With this one, call cost, you put the top card of your deck into its soul and pay 2 gauge. When this card attacks, you put the top card of your deck into your gauge, which is great for building up gauge use for your impact monsters. And the first turn a card on your field gets plus 5,000 power, being another great boost for anything else we may have set up on the field. And its Overturn being pay 1 life during your final phase. Call up to 1 impact monster from your deck by paying its call cost and shuffle your deck, having the same attack as your Apical Sun Deity Bal Dragon, having the Penetrate and Soul Guard abilities as well. But the Overturn for the impact monster from the deck is a great first turn setup. Depending on the impact monster we go into, you can hit for heavy damage against your opponent or even just set up your Dragon Force item as well with this card. And then for more resource setup, I run 3 Style of Impact Bal Dragon. With this one, you pay 1 life for the call cost. And also, when this card enters the field, you can either add 1 card with Dragon Force from your deck into your hand, or put the top 3 cards from your deck into your gauge. So you can have gauge setup or search out for the item you may need with this card. I run 3 of this and 3 Overturn Bal Dragon just for the different options. Apical Sun Dragon is still one I prefer to go into the most for the setup, but both of these cards, whether searching out for the item or impact monster and then just giving me resources, are why I like to run both of these numbers with those given amounts. For the Bal Soleil that I'm running 2 Super Sun Dragon Bal Soleil Revival Buddy. With this one being the newest form of Bal Soleil, you put up to 1 monster or more from your field into its soul and pay 2 gauge. If this card has soul, damage dealt to you is reduced by 3, and this card gets plus 10,000 power in defense and critical plus 2. And counter, you choose a monster on your opponent's field, and you may pay 1 gauge. If you do, drop a soul from that card and put it into the drop zone. So it's not a destruction effect, it just places it in, just like for those of you that are familiar with the Lost World Vanity Husk Destroyer, giving you that option to get around the prevent destruction means that you can go up against things like Athora if you have the less soul in it, or if you build up against it. Plus also defensive wise, because the thing will be at 17,000 defense and damage reduced as long as you keep this card on the left or right. You have the defensive power to take on your opponent and protect this card from their attacks. Also because you won't be taking any damage as long as they don't break away at its soul. And having triple attack and soul guard make it that much scarier of a card also. And lastly, for the Bal Soleil, I'm also running 2 Transcend Sun Dragon Bal Soleil Future. You put 1 or more monsters from your field into its soul and pay 3 gauge. If this card has soul, damage taken is reduced by 2, and this card gets plus 4,000 power in defense. What I like more about this one is it gives you the option, with this one at the start of each player's attack phase, nullify the abilities of a monster in your opponent's center and destroy them. So this card can get around Soul Guard. There are just some cards your opponent may have on the center that can't be destroyed, and their abilities can't be nullified. That's where Bal Soleil Revival Buddy comes in Dragon. But if you're dealing with something that has bigger soul, but it can have its ability nullify, Soleil Future is the card to go for. I like running 2 and 2 for both of the options, just in case one of them may go into the gauge at the beginning of the game. But we have cards to set them up into the drop zone as well to call out with Apical Sun Deity Dragon also. And then for some of the lower size monsters in the deck, I run 3 Loyal Dragon, Flarefang Dragon. If you have another originally size 3 Sun Dragon on your field, this card's size on the field is reduced by 1, making it a size 0, so it can even stay on the field with Soleil as well. And when a size 2 or greater Sun Dragon monster enters your field, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and draw a card. This ability only activates once per main phase and once per final phase. So if you call out a Dragon during the main phase, you can get the gauge and draw a build up, but also if you call an impact monster during the final phase, you'll get that additional setup. More and more resources for you to use. Hand cards, so you definitely want to have this card set up on the field to use. And lastly, for these size 1s, I run 3 Flarefang Dragon, just being another easy setup with Flare Gift when this card enters the field. If you have another Sun Dragon on your field, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and draw a card. This one's just when you call this card out, as long as you have your other resources, but just I like it setting it up with this card and Flarefang. It just more and more gauge and draw setup you have to work with in the deck. And for the rest of the monsters, I run 4 Egg of the Sun Dragon, being one of my favorite monsters in the deck for the setup power it has. When it enters the field, put up to 1 size 2 or greater monster with Dragon or Soleil and its card name from your deck into the drop zone. Shuffle your deck, and then you may put this card from the field into the soul of a size 2 or greater monster with Dragon or Soleil and draw 1 card. And any card that has this card in its soul, that's a Sun Dragon, cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, protecting Soleil when you have this card in its soul, so your opponent has to attack into it. It can't be destroyed by card effects, but also giving you resources for draw power and the setup to use with our Apical Sun Dragon also. And then for the items, I am running 2 Dragon Force, Sun's Bullet. I only run 2 of this card. Once you equip this item on, you really don't have to worry about your opponent taking care of it unless they have cards like the Anti-Husk Destroyer, which can send the card, because this card cannot be destroyed or returned to the hand by your opponent's card effects. Its release condition being very easy as well, just needing a size 2 or greater Dragon or Soleil monster on the field. And also, when this card link attacks with another Sun Dragon, you can stand this card, having plenty of attacks to use with this, and also sharing the Penetrate with Dragon, being able to hit for high damage when both link attack together. And during your final phase, you can restand this card again. So even if this card attacks during the attack step, you can restand it and then link attack with all of your impact monsters as well. And for the impact monsters, I'm running 2 Dragon Ball Saucer Infinity Strike, being your go-to impact monster when you link attack with your Sun's Bullet. As long as you have the gauge to use, you'll have plenty of attacks to go with in this card against your opponent, both having Penetrate and the stand power, just being able to pay 1 gauge to stand this card if you have a Sun Dragon item equipped. And most of the time with our Overturn Dragon, I run the 1 Dragon Ball Force Regeneration. With this card, when this card enters the field, equip up to 1 Sun Dragon item from your deck without paying its equip costs, and shuffle your deck. And for that turn, this card can attack during the final phase and gets critical +1. This is to set up your item that much easier. You can call out your Overturn Dragon and then call this card out and then equip your item just like that and have both set up to use for next turn when you have a different impact monster on the field. For the newest of the impact monsters, I am running 3 of the Dragon Burst Smasher Revival Buddy. Having a critical of 4 and 11,000 power is what definitely is one scary aspect of this card, but the main point of it is when this card attacks alone, it attacks your opponent and all monsters they control instead, and during the battle this card attacks alone, your opponent can't counter. This card has triple attack and soul guard, so if your opponent is just relying on cards that use counter when your monsters attack, this could be game for you right then and there. Being able to hit your opponent and their monsters, if they have a monster on the center, they'll take the Penetrate damage and the damage from your opponent to them yourself, and then the fact that it's triple attack, that's 12 damage in total that they'll be taking with no response to counter when it attacks alone. Your opponent will either have to take care of it when you call down to the field or in between each of the attacks. And then moving on now to the spells. I run 4 Sunshine Power Charge with a counter being able to choose one of the following. It either gives you gauge and life buildup for each different world you have on the field, which Soleil counting as all 3 dragon worlds, and makes it for a great card setup, but also being able to call a card from the drop zone on top of another one on the field means you can avoid attacks using this card. If your one monster is about to be destroyed, you can call another Soleil onto the field, giving you more defensive power. Being able to switch back and forth between the Soleils makes this a definite 4 of in the deck for another resource build. And I also run the 2 of the Super Sun Dragon Shield. I definitely want to bump this up to 4. If I were to run an additional 2 more copies, I would take out 2 copies of the next card I run, with this one giving you a gauge, a life, and a draw, depending on what world you have in the field. So if Soleil is on the field, you'll have more of the setup with this card. With normally, if you just have a Sun Dragon on the field, you'll just draw the card. If you have the Neo Dragon, which Soleil is also a Neo Dragon and a Black Dragon, you'll get the gain 1 life and also the gauge build for both also. But I would take out 2 copies of the Super Sun Dragon Shield, which I also run 4 of, being another way to stop attacks on your opponent's turn, giving you a gauge and a life. And if there are 2 or more Sun Dragons on your field, this card cannot be nullified. Like I said, I like the setup because we get draw power with Super Sun Dragon Shield, so I would take out 2 copies of this for 2 additional numbers of Super Sun Dragon Shield if I had the copies. And then for a few more extra spells I run the 3 Sun Deities Buddy. If you have Soleil, it's draw power, gaining life, and more gauge setup if you have the Sun Dragon, but having Soleil on the field is an extra bonus with this card for sure, so just more setup to use with this one especially. And I also run the 3 Warlord Sword Release. Now with this and Soleil having 3 different worlds on the field with that card alone, you'll draw 3 cards for just a gauge of 1 and paying 2 life. Very, very useful, especially as long as you have those resources, you can keep drawing and drawing cards using this card on the field. So once per turn, so remember that, but I still like to run the 3 copies so I can see this card often during the game also. And for more protection, when I don't have Egg of the Sun, I run 2 Grace of the Sun Deity. You choose a card in your field, and for this turn, the chosen card cannot be destroyed or leave the field, and its soul cannot be dropped by an opponent's card effect, or for this turn, you cannot take damage by card effects. I usually prefer the first one when I have Egg of the Sun set up, but it's just a good counter spell to rely on in the deck, especially when I need that defensive play against my opponents. And as for the go-to play, like I spoke of before, if you have Overturn Ball Dragon on the field and you use its Overturn, being able to call the one of impact monster that I run in the deck for your setup with this card would be your main go-to play. So with this, you'll use the Overturn, paying the 1 life, and calling out your Ball Dragon Ball Force Regeneration. Then using this card to equip your Dragon Force Sun's Bullet. Your opponent may destroy this card in the following turn as well, but if you do that, hopefully you'll have more of the setup with your Ball Dragon Apical Sun, and being able to rely on Egg of the Sun on the field as well to set up more cards in the drop zone for you to call out onto the field. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm definitely going to be working on a lot more decks from the Buddy Ragnarok set, so look forward to that. Got plenty to work with all the different cards we had in that set, so definitely going to be a lot of fun. But until then, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.